Hello, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to take you through 5 simple tips you can use at home to instantly improve your coffee brewing experience. Tip number 1 is to decide your recipe. So what I mean by this is you need to decide exactly how much coffee you want to drink in the morning. So be that 500ml or 250ml, it's up to you. For example, I like to drink a 250ml cup of coffee. Therefore, I'm going to use 15 grams of coffee. The ratio I like to use is 60 grams per litre of water. That's a good measure. And then you can change it from there once you perfect your recipe. So 250 mils and 15 grams of coffee. That's a simple start. And then stick to that every day for a few weeks until you actually perfect it. And each day only change the grind based on the taste of the previous coffee. If you keep chopping and changing how much coffee you put in or how much water or the method that you're using, you kind of lose track of where you were and can't measure off the same cup. So by keeping all these variables the same, such as the weight and the method, and only changing grind, you can actually tell how to improve your coffee or how it's not improving and work backwards. So yeah, tip number 1, pick a recipe and stick to it for at least a week. Tip number 2 would be to use a weighing scales. You have to use a weighing scales if you want to consistently make good coffee. If you go into any espresso bar, they weigh each portafilter before they make your cappuccino. And there's a reason for that. They need to know exactly what went in versus what comes out. And the only way you can do that is using the scales. So I would highly recommend investing in the scales. You can get cheap ones on Amazon or you can get really nice ones with timers built in. It doesn't matter, it always weighs the coffee. Tip number 3 is to invest in a grinder. You can use any type of grinder. There's cheap hand grinders for €50 or there's cheap electric grinders for around 100 or 150 euro, and they all work perfectly. You need to grind fresh because as soon as you grind coffee it starts to oxidize, and which basically means it goes stale. And obviously if you're paying 15-20 euro for a bag of coffee, you want to get the full experience. So grinding fresh is very important. Just when you're buying a grinder, make sure you're buying a burr grinder as opposed to a blade grinder, because a burr grinder gives you a consistent grind where each particle is as close to being similar as possible, whereas a blade grinder, it chops up everything at different rates, so you could have big chunks and little chunks, and that's not good for brewing coffee. You need to have as consistent a grind as possible. I'll link a few grinders down below for you to check out. Okay, so tip number 4 is to use good tasting water. A cup of coffee is made up 98% of water, so if you don't have good tasting water by itself, you're not going to have a good tasting cup of coffee. It's as simple as that. I used to use the tap water here in my house because I thought Dublin water was good, and then I switched to filtered water, and it made the coffees taste so much better because it was much more smooth and you could actually taste the flavours of the coffee that it said on the bag. So yeah, using good tasting water is really important. Tip number 5 is similar to tip number 4 in that you need to buy good quality coffee. If you don't have good quality coffee, you're not going to get a decent cup of coffee in the morning. I would suggest checking out local coffee shops or googling specialty coffee roasters. There'll be loads of roasters that can ship you bags of coffee to your door that have only been roasted in the last week or 2. If you buy coffee in the grocery store, there's no date on when it was roasted, and therefore it could be there for weeks. And as I said in the previous point, coffee loses its flavour after a while, so if you can use that coffee within like 3 to 4 weeks of it being roasted, you're getting the best out of it. And if you're spending 10-15 euro on a coffee bag, you want to get the best experience. So yeah, I would highly recommend buying fresh coffee from a specialty roaster. So I only started brewing coffee around a year ago, and I felt like if I had seen a video like this back then, my coffee would have been so much better straight away, because it can be quite overwhelming looking at all the different videos online and all these experts with different tutorials, and they're all good. It's just sometimes it can be overwhelming with all the information. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video and stay tuned for more.